Hey folks, so I'm making this little video so that in case you wanted to make your ticker tape graphs at home, or if you didn't want to ask me questions, you wanted to learn it before you got to class, anyway, this video is for you. So what you need to start this video with is having all your data entered into Excel. A couple things about that: all of the times are the ones listed on the ticker tape data table, but those are the times that you use for position. For velocity, you would actually use different times. And if you notice that all of these times are the halfway points between each individual time interval. And that is because the instantaneous velocity of your cart happens when the time is halfway in between. So in other words, the average velocity that you calculate, this number is 7.6, that actual velocity happens halfway between 0 and 0.1 seconds. So all of your times are staggered from the times listed. And then for acceleration, they're also staggered, but by staggering them between 0.05 and 0.15, we actually get back to the times that you had originally, except there's no 0 and there's no 2.5. Acceleration is calculated over an interval, and there's no time after 2.5 in the data table, so we can't get that time there. I also had Excel calculate an average. You can see my formula up in the bar right there to calculate the average acceleration, and that's something that I'm not going to ask you to do for your work that you do on the graphs. So once you have all your data entered, I'm just going to show you how to make your position graph, and then you can kind of do the rest. So to make your position graph, you want to highlight the entire column. I usually highlight the headings also. Excel never does it the way that I want it, the way that I do things, but if you want to do a different method, if you know it, you can grab those titles also. So you want to go to your insert menu, which should be in the ribbon. I think at this point in time, the Mac OS and the Windows Excels both have the ribbon. Go to the insert menu, and there are options for inserting charts. The one that looks like a scatter plot is the one you want to click on. It gives you a lot of options, and you don't want any lines on your graph at this point in time. So you just choose a scatter, and your graph should look pretty good. It should look like a clear trend, and all of our graphs are going to look the same. The first thing you want to do is make it a full page graph. So right click anywhere outside of the graph itself, and you'll get a lot of options. Go to Move Chart, and you want to call that chart whatever, like position versus time or position, but you want to make sure that it selects New Sheet, and that just moves it to its own sheet, and it blows it up nice and big. You're not done yet, so you want to have a layout that matches good graphing techniques. So you want to go to Quick Layout is probably the easiest way to do this. And actually, I'm going to experiment a little bit. Ooh, that worked. Okay, so that was Quick Layout, and for me, it was the bottom left-hand option. It's the one that has the most grid lines. That's going to help you analyze things more accurately when you look at it. And it also gives you some axis titles. It doesn't give you the full title. And it gives you a key that you can delete. So the only thing that's missing from this is the title has disappeared. So to add something to your graph, you go to this menu that says Add Chart Element, and you can add a chart title, and above the chart is probably the way to go. So when you click in here, I usually hit on an Apple computer Command A. On a Windows machine, you would hit Control A. It selects the whole thing, and you can name it Position versus Time. You can do the same thing for each axis title. Once you see the cursor show up in that little box, you can hit Select All. And this is a position versus time graph, so you would type position and centimeters. And then on the bottom, you would type time in seconds, and you're almost done. You want to right-click on one of your data points, and there should be an option in that menu for Add Trend Line. You want to select Polynomial. It will not allow you to select Power. I believe, I forget the reason for that, but anyway, you want to select Polynomial Order 2. This is a quadratic function that's going to match it. You don't want to set the intercept because we didn't actually start collecting data the moment the cart was released, because you had to measure away from that burn dot. You're actually not starting at a time of 0, so like relative to the actual motion of the cart. You don't need the equation, you don't need the r² value. It's a pretty good fit. I know that it's going to be the best one, and that's that. So your graph of position versus time is done, and you can then go back and do the exact same thing for velocity. I'm just going to start doing it, and I'll end the video when I'm done talking about other random things. When you get to class and you want to print your graphs, you will just print them to the library, and you'll just walk down. And so what you want to pay attention to is when you print it, you want to print all 3 graphs, and I can actually show you how, why don't I show you how to do that now? So velocity, centimeters per second, I put a capital E in there, and then time, and then you can delete the key. For velocity, yours might start to look a little crazy. But what I want to tell you is for the velocity graph, you want a linear fit. It will not hit all of your points, but it will give you an indication that it looks kind of like a straight line. This one will definitely not intercept 0. Again, you want to remember that by the time you started measuring data, the cart had already been moving, so its velocity was already not 0. And that's the complete velocity graph. And then just to show you what the acceleration versus time graph looks like, yours should look like mine. And by that, I mean it should look totally crazy. At this point in time, it looks like a true scatter plot. And there it is. So this is the acceleration versus time graph. And I'm going to pretend that I did the axis labels as well. So at this point in time, you want to print everything except your data. So position, velocity, and acceleration. So I believe if you select, if on a Mac machine, you would hold down Command, and you'd select position, and then velocity and acceleration. On a Windows machine, you would hold down Control and do the same thing, and it would select all of them. When you go to the print menu, you will get options. Well, this is the Mac menu. On a Windows machine, you get a lot more options immediately. But if you see that you're printing 3 pages, that's a very good thing. That means you're printing all of the slides, or all of the sheets that you selected. Now, if you have I don't think the library printer is two-sided, but what you want to do is you want to print as many copies as you have group members. And so I will communicate with Mrs. Burke that you're going to print a bunch of things and that you'll need them all. They're very important. But print 1 set per lab member or lab group member that you have, and then just send 1 person down to the library. So we'll go over all this in class, but for now you have information in case you wanted to graph your data on your own. Thanks.